Yeah, 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 yeah. Coming in, yeah, flex. I just wanna win, yeah. LA beat me, who we running with, yeah. I'm on 10 again, yeah. State your name, baby, don't go flame. I just switched the lane. Hi, this is Kim Pinkney, and welcome to my channel. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and begin with a time-lapse review of where we are thus far. Okay, so this was, I think it was Taehyung, all tied up with no place to go but to sing. And I didn't like some of the source images that I had, so I started a different face. My idea was for him to be bound up by music notes, with some music notes that are on the floor, and some around his ankles. I mean, he could get free, but does he really want to? But I also wanted to try to capture his face a little bit better. And the picture that I had was about this small, and then zoomed in, it's like pixelated to all hell. So it was kind of impeding me from getting a really good likeness. And another thing about his picture was that it was of a different time than, I don't know, it's kind of hard to gauge. He has so many different hair colors and hairstyles. I have one picture from, I don't know, it doesn't even give me dates, but one he's in a auburn hair, and then the next one he's in blonde hair. And the auburn hair, he looks a lot older, and the blonde hair, it's a lot wilder, freer, and I was just not capturing the likeness, so I decided to eventually scrap this face that I'm working on right now, and then start over with a younger, youthful face. I'm not sure how old this face is, where he is in time, but we as artists can transcend time, so yay. So I have him more of a more innocent look, I guess. He's kind of looking hopeful at his captors, like I got it. I'm caught up in this music. I just can't quit you. I can't get loose. So that's where I am thus far. Part of this I had worked on while I was on a bus. Part of it I worked on here at home. And other parts I've worked on it while I was doing laundry. And I even started working a bit on it this morning when I noticed that everything is just a little wider than it should be. So I made an adjustment first thing this morning and realized, oh God, it's 5 o'clock already. I need to turn the thing on. So here we are, and this is where we will continue. And I definitely needed that break of a day off camera to look at this and let my eyes rest and things like that, and only to see that things are still a little too wide. And I could tell from the distance between here and what I would think would be the edge of the face, so I need to bring it in a bit. And I'm going to do that by grabbing one of these colors here. And good morning to anybody who's popped on in. Let's see. Like the edge of his face is kind of got like a blue tone to it. I don't know. I think I erased my blue tone that I was working with. Let's see. I got my soft brush going. I need to change this to maybe this kind of tone here. Okay, I'm gonna back it up so you can see some of the crap that I'm working with. Oh, you can see it just fine. Okay, and we'll give it like a gray. There we go. Okay, so the distance here has got like some brown color to it, like eyeshadow or something like that. Oops, let me back that up. Make sure I'm on the right layer. That's the good layer. And we'll drop this down so I have a smaller brush. His head is tilted at an angle, and looking at it straight on,
I noticed that I needed to get that angle back. So all this right here needs to go. It's just too much. So let me go ahead and erase some of this. Let me bring this down a little bit. Back it up. And now I've got to decide, do I want to keep the blonde hair or do I want to go back to the auburn hair? The auburn hair was nice because it gave me a lot more forehead, but I got to keep in mind that it's of a different time. The auburn hair, he's older. In the blonde hair, he's younger. In the auburn hair, his mouth is open. In the blonde hair, his mouth is closed, or, you know, teeth clenched. So I gotta make decisions, and it's kind of hard to commit. Let's see, I'll make this a little darker. Okay, and his ear can be seen in the blonde hair. It's crazy, but you can't. I don't think I could see it in the auburn hair. Let me see. I think he has like some sort of headphone or something like that in it, and I just went batshit crazy with the hair on this side. So I'm going to erase some of the hair, but I'm going to do it with hair, the hair brush, and I'll make it a little bit bigger so I can cover more ground, and it just gives it more of that like hairy taper as I'm erasing it, but I should just use a regular brush. It'll be faster. And it looks like I've gone on to a different layer. Yeah. Layers be getting me messed up. Get rid of all the crap that's on other layers. Yeah, I don't like 10 billion layers, but I did like how wild his hair was. What's fun is that if you could get your favorites' likeness, you can give them a whole nother look. And I pretty much do that when I put them in a different genre, different outfits, different other craziness, different positions. So it's kind of like just a little bit of a change. So let me go ahead and get rid of some of this. Okay, so let's throw him an ear. We're going to sample some of the color in his skin and use that as a base. Make sure I'm on the right layer. Yep. See, this weekend, I hope everybody had a decent weekend. Let's see, now his ears should be even lower since his head is tilted upwards. He looks so much like a totally different person. Let's see. Part of me wants to work on getting the likeness, and then another part of me just wants to like get her done. Okay, move forward. Okay, I'm gonna get the head shape the way it should be. I'm really super zoomed in on him. And I gotta look at the chin. So about like right there. There we go. And then the other ear is about like right here. But if the ears are going to be down here, it has to be, it's nowhere near where the mouth is. Okay, so I'm looking, the bottom of the ear kinda is a little lower than where the mouth is. So the mouth needs to come up. All this here would need to come up. So let's fix that. We'll select it. And we'll move it. It has to come up about that high if I'm going to stick with the ear that I've got. So let me reset. I'll bring my ear down instead. Okay. Let me erase this part. Make sure my eraser's not too big. He looks like a totally different dude. Let's see. And his jawline on this side is completely different too, because his head is tilted this way. And this is the bottom of his chin. And then it goes on into his neck. There we go. So his mouth is kind of tiny. Let's see. His ear would be down here. This is his jaw. His ear kind of curves a bit. So everything should be like on an axis like this. Everything should be curving like this. And this ear here, if I was doing a straight line, should be lower than his mouth, which tells me that his mouth is way too big. That could be throwing it off. So let's see. Let's go ahead and get rid of this layer. And then we'll make his mouth a little smaller, even though it looks kind of hot as full lips like that. Make sure I'm on the right layer. Yep. And we'll make it bigger, or smaller rather. Yeah, he's got a small mouth. Yeah, and usually I use the eyes as my landmark, but then when I get lower down I have to use other landmarks, like where is the ear, how high is the mouth, is it tilted? So it's got that slight tilt, everything is coming down this way, and then I can just go ahead and fill that on in. So do that with the brush. Oh yeah, sample the skin in that area. There we go. Yeah, he's got a really small mouth. His nose is a little bit more pinched than this. Oops. Zoom in a bit. Okay. And I'm a little off-centered with the nose, so let me move it as well. So if I move the nose, let's see, I want to pinch it a bit. Okay, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Almost. About right there. Let's start with that. Yeah, I might end up, with all the adjustments I've made and all the tweaks I've done, sometimes it's easier to start back from scratch again. Yeah, usually you shouldn't have to do this much adjusting. Okay, let's get back to where we were. Let's throw some, there's a highlight here. Really super big highlight here. Let's get some of these tones back in here. Let's see, we'll start with just the little nostrils, and then we'll build up around it. We're going to use some tones. We're going to use 3 particular tones. The shadow tone, we'll use that one. We've got a little bit of brown, So let's see. Actually, I've got my colors right on here. This is it's like a reddish brown and just a little darker. Okay, and I'm going to hit this nostril right here. But gotta watch out for the size of the brush. Take that down a bit. And I'm looking at the shape of this color and just trying to emulate the shape of the color. And that'll give me where his nostril is. And I'm going to use just a little bit of a darker tone. In certain areas of the shadow. There we go. And then I've got like the ambient shadow or ambient color. That's where this weird tone came from. But it's more of a blue tone. Let's see. So maybe about this blue-gray. And then we're going to drop the opacity down. When you're doing the nose, you don't want to use hard lines unless they're shadows. And that's one of the things that I tell myself or remind myself. If you want to draw like semi-realistic or realistic, you want to work with those tones that are around it. You just want to try to emulate those tones. It's easier to do monochromatic if you stay with just one color. So like if I was drawing him in all in blue or in gray or just any color, but just use just tones of that color, it's easy to see the shadows and the tones and stuff. And I did that for the longest when I was doing pencil drawings. Pencil portraits and stuff. It's like your brain fills in where the color would be. So I never noticed I wasn't really in color because I could see the tones of everything and it looked realistic, you know, if people were in black and white. But after a while, when you open yourself up to color, it just kind of opens the world up a bit more and then gives you a lot more problems. When you open the door, it brings in more problems. More color, more problems. Okay, now his lips are really feathered. What I mean is, like, it's not hard lines that define it. Very soft lines. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and keep going on the nose. I've got the mid-tone to work with. Like, I've got the bass tone already here. But, let's see, let's throw some music on. The next color is this very light flesh. And I might end up having to do a different layer so we can see it a little bit better. There we go. Let's see, we'll even try white. Maybe that'll help. Oh, because I'm back on my opacity. So let's try the other color again. It's there. Let's see, let me back it up a bit. There we go. It's very subtle because it's the base tone with a hot light on it. So this is all very hot right here, getting all this light. Right here is even hotter. And I'm going to use some of this purple And I'm going to diffuse that down, and I'm going to use that as like a bit of my shadow that his skin is picking up, or the purple lights that the skin is picking up. Let's see, maybe a little bit of orange for his skin, but I gotta keep it nice and subtle. There we go. It'll be like right here. Bring it in a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. He's got a little bit right here. I got to define this area right here a little bit more, because he's got this wide nose so far and it's not that wide. So I just try to close in some of the gaps and bring that down a bit. This orange is a little bright. Bring it down some, because this is kind of like a shadow. And this is a little too dark. Let's bring it in a bit. It's like in between. And we'll soften it up a bit by smearing the color around. Okay, and this will also help me with my nose placement. I'm going to bring this layer down. That way I don't have to keep going back and forth to layers. Just shape this. Okay, here's the tip of his nose up here. Let me get a little bit more blue. More purple. And we'll drop it down a notch in the opacity. But I need it to be a little more defined. So about like right here. Okay, and then I'm going to tease that out a bit this way. Now your shadows usually follow a particular direction, what I would do when I was drawing with pencil, and you can get away with it with this, is go ahead and add a line and then smear it or blend it down towards where the shadow kind of diffuses itself. And that's the smudge brush there, or the smudge function. And you just kind of get that subtle nose and those subtle tones. Same thing with the nostril here. I'm going to tease that up a little bit. And where the shadows meet, now I'm noticing that the shadow isn't this dark going this way, but it is this way. So I'm going to tease it upwards. And the shadow's pretty much doing this with his nose. It's making this pyramid type shape. Now it's subtle, very subtle, comes down this way. I'm going to use a little bit of the tones from his nostrils. I'll have to darken them up again, but I'm going to use a little bit to define the bottom of his nose here. I think it's called the septum. And I see other highlights around it as well. Bring this in. Let's see. And then I'm going to be softening up his lips Okay, so there's that part. And then on the other side of the nose, I'm going to take a little bit of this tone. Let's see, and I want that tone. And I'll make it a little bit less opaque. Okay, make sure I got the brush. And I'm going to define this side of his nostril a little bit more. Make that line a little smaller because the shadow's not that big. And his nose kind of curls under a little bit. And then I'm going to darken in his nostrils. They look black in here. And just try to remember the shape of the nostril. Alrighty, make sure that the distance between the two are right. The nostril's big enough. Just look at the shapes that it creates. Don't look at it as it's a nostril. Look at the shape. Is it round? Does it have like little corners to it? Like the top of this nostril hole, it has like a little point, comes down a bit, then it kind of has like a little notch here, and you'll notice that with when you're drawing. Okay, so this one also has a notch, but it's a little higher up and a little rounder. There we go. This is the only place where you can do a hard outline. When the head is tilted up like this. Okay, and the rest will be tones. And I'm just looking at the shape of the nostril. Okay, now he's got some highlights around the rim of the holes. He's got a big highlight right here. Let's make this a little bigger. Right there. And I'm going to diffuse it a bit. Kind of smear it. Bring it back. Make it a little bit bigger. And then we'll blend it outwards into the other layer here. Okay, his nostril shows a bit of texture, like pores. So I would use like a textured brush to show that. If you see his pores anywhere else, you can always, tap those in. Using the oil pastel brush, it gives you a skin texture. That's pretty good. Okay, so let's see. So now I need to see the difference between all these shadows and highlights and stuff, and that will help me. Ooh, what brush did I use? Feels like it tapped into a different brush. Splatter brush isn't bad for skin tone as well. Now in this area here, it's a little bit more subtle for him. So I'm going to just try to smudge it on in with the other tone here. Like there's not any blue right here. This is all, you gotta watch how I'm smudging. It's that very light tone. This is the national anthem of Spain. I love how the randomness of this music station, epidemic sound is. Okay. All right. So I just look at the differences in tone. This is around, let's see. Okay, and then I need to smudge a little bit of this, the purple tone. There's a little bit right here. And then smudge a little bit of this brown here. And it diffuses itself. Oops. Use that. We'll grab a different tone here. It grabs a bit of this. I have to soften up the brush. There we go. Yeah, there's just a little bit of this blue here. Okay. All right. Okay, not bad, not bad. Okay, and then right here, the septum. Oh, septum. That area between the lip and the nose, the bottom of the nose. Let's see. I want to define that a little bit. It's very, very white right here on his face, and very subtle little dip right here. With a high-res picture, you'll be able to see little differences like that. I'm going to put a little bit of a light tone on the ball of his nose here. And on his nostrils. About right there. It's super white, like right there. And then going into the nose, there's a different tone there. It's like a pink. And it just seems to kind of peek out this way. All right. You see a little bit of this edge here. Yeah, doing monotone is a lot easier because you could just do, you have just one pencil or one color and you just do little gradients of that color. If it's darker, you just push harder or add more of that dark tone. Or, but when you have color, you have choices and you have thoughts, because it's like, okay, in certain areas, it gets a lot more skin. It gets, or rather, it gets, the skin is thinner, and it gets a lot more blood. So like sometimes it'll be like red in certain areas. The nose might be a little redder. If they've got makeup, it throws it off just a little bit. But still, some of the things apply. You can only cover so much with makeup. Okay, so I'm going to work on his eyes. One of the things I like doing is isolating them, so I can really just lay the color down. Add, so I can hit the other side. I'm looking at it a little bit. Okay, so ready to throw that color down. Now, because of the areas that the eye is in, one eye may have more color than the other, or might be receiving more light than the other. Just keep that in mind. Him, it looks like the light is hitting him pretty equally. And I'm going to drop this down with this. That was the base tone. I'm going to give it a darker tone right here. And then throw a little bit of the gray in there. And then I'm going to take like a lighter tone of this blue And I'm gonna just kind of make, oops, I'm gonna zoom in a bit. I'm gonna bring my brush down to its smallest, and I'm kind of just making these little I'm trying to describe little flower petalish type of cones in his eyes. It's like doing it like this. And this is with that light blue. I'm going to come back with the dark blue again and just kind of layer it a bit. And let's see. Yeah, his contacts are kind of like a bluish gray tone. And then I'm going to come in with the black dots right here. I'll make that a little bigger. And I'm just looking for any subtle colors in the eye before I move back onto another tone. There's like a little dot there of black. And then I'm back into the blue again. Let's see, and it's kind of got a little bit of aqua to it, but a little aqua gray. And I'm just gonna, oops, back it up. I'm gonna drop my brush size again and just go over again in that same shape. And it's darker up on the top end of the light. So if you've ever drawn like a little anime, this will help, because there's always like this little shadow caused by the eyelashes and the lid. National Anthem of Norway. Don't know why it's playing national anthems, but that's okay. Oh, wrong one. Oh, they got nothing but national anthems because it's sports arena songs. Songs that they play at a sports arena or possibly could play at a sports arena. Okay, so I'm just adding little subtleties. Okay, let's see, we'll throw that in there. We'll give it a little bit more black. There we go. Alrighty, we'll throw a little bit of white at the very, very bottom. I need a little bit more shadow on this side, so I'm going to smudge my shadows here. And bring my black back. Okay, and then I'm going to throw some of the lights from the that are hitting him. And we can also smudge a bit. Keep it kind of subtle. Don't want to get rid of all the cones and rods, just a little. And then we'll throw more white. Okay, and then in some places it has a little bit more white, so I'm just going to throw little shapes like this into it, just to kind of get that in there. And then when you zoom out, it looks like that. Okay. Now the white of his eyes, they're not like white. There's certain areas that might get a little bit of the white tone, but on the whole, it's kind of like the flesh tone with a little hint of white in it. So I'm going to go ahead and isolate those. Or actually, I'll put it on its own layer. Let me back it up. That way I can highlight the whole thing. If that's on that layer, it'll be beneath it. So I'll hit that. Okay.
I'm active. If he never heard of it, dope, he just snapping. Jackson's off the rapping. Keep it on my body, bitch. I'm broke if you ask it. Don't gotta sell the most Cialis flawless. Broken whips is longer than this foreign. Heard you want it cause the yams enormous. What's an ass? Says she isn't gorgeous. Live my life last.
Alright.
Trying to touch a forest. Do not know when knocking on the door is came in. I came in.
So I'm going to take the flesh tone and just keep it like super white, as white as I can get it. Maybe a little bit gray on the gray side. There we go. And then we'll do different degrees of white. Open up my brush a bit. Let's see. Okay, putting it on its own layer is not going to work that way. So let me see. Let me try this. I need to bring it up a layer because it's got flesh on. Oh, you know what? I can do this. Get on that layer and then erase so we can see it better. But you got to remember that the eyeball's on there as well. Okay, let me go back to the other layer. We'll color this in. I'm going to make it a little wider. Drop the opacity down a bit. And in certain spots I want it to be like really white, so we'll do that. Bring it down some. Bring the opacity back up a bit. So it's like a lot whiter down here where we had put the highlights in the eyes, but not by much. So what I'm going to do is take my smudge brush and then kind of work that into the gray. It's starting to show the bottom a little bit, so I smudged it just a bit much. And I'll come back and define the eye a little bit more if I need to. And I'm just smudging into the gray a bit. There we go. Okay. Oops. Smudging too much. Over smudge, over smudge. Make this a little bigger. And then smudge. Kind of blend them into each other so it's like a hybrid of white and gray. Let me bring back more of the whites. Let's see, I use like a softer gray there. I used more of like a blue-gray. Okay, all right. Let's see, I guess they're... I'm wondering if I want him to face us more, like he's looking right at us. Let's see, so I'm going to define his eye a bit more. Let me drop that. I'm going to put these two layers together. And then I'm going to move this eye over just a little bit, or define it a little bit more. Make that smaller. Oh. Like, even though I changed it here, I gotta make sure I change it here. Bring it. Bring it, bring it, bring it. There we go. See, so right now, is he looking at us? Kinda. Let's see, we'll make it a little blue-gray around the edge here. All right. See if he's kind of looking at us without being too cross-eyed. I might want to move that eye over a little bit, so let me see. Oops, not yet. Zoom in. Just move it over a tick. National anthem of Sweden. Good morning, Sweden, Scotland, Costa Rica, Poland. Heading the game. Here we go. Let's see, reset. Charge. All right. I think that'll do it. Yeah, it's a little bit closer. Okay. Maybe not sports arena next time. Let's see. Let's see. They even got bagpipes. National Anthem of Scotland. Alright. I need to bring this tone in. Excuse me. Clear eyes. And I gotta double check to make sure it's the same size as the other eye. And then we'll just kind of smudge them in. Okay. Now his eye, let me back up. Okay, let's do the upper lids here. And then we'll evaluate the face, make sure everybody's in its right place. This eye should angle a little bit downwards, and we'll see if we can accomplish that with his lids. He's got like some makeup on, and it's a little bit of a reddish, brownish, almost into purple. It's a flirting with the purple, just a little. Okay, and we'll bring that down. Now the top of the eye, about like right here, is kind of like the very top. And I'm just bringing it downwards. I'm just kind of drawing what I see. This is very light down here. And then from the top here, come back down, and it's a, let's see, I'll keep this tone for a sec in this area, and we'll soften it up a bit. Now the hair I'm gonna have to redo. I'm trying to decide if I would, well, it's gonna be blonde, I guess. Let's see, I'll soften the brush a bit for this area. And we'll tease that outwards a bit. And then we'll darken it. But we need to bring this down a bit. And when I do eyelashes for Asian guys, I stay downwards because of their eye fold. When it's anybody else, I do this sort of thing, but because their eyelids, they have, some of them have double eyelids, it forces their eyelashes downwards. It could be thick, but it'd be thick in a downwards area fashion. Another national anthem. Let's see, let's try a different one. Oops. No blemishes. Okay. Now I have problem seeing this particular eye because it's covered with hair in this picture. To get the lighter tone of here, I just reduce some of the pressure. Let me see if I can touch it and bring back the other tone. And I'm just going to feather out his eye makeup here. And this is where all that brown was that I saw right here. And then his hair covers the rest. I'm going to feather out the color on the side here so it's not so harsh. And I was going to give him ears. Oh, but let me finish these eyes here. These eyes. Okay, bring back some of the tones that I've lost. I'm also going to throw in a little bit more white in his eye on this side. Make sure these are nice and white. Alright. Okay. So I'm looking for any eye bags, anything like that before I move on. And he really doesn't have any. This is much thinner. So I need to tame that tone. Tame that tone! Let's see it. It's this thin. And then it comes out this way. And he's got like a lighter tone action happening about right here. Make this a little bigger. Need to make that a lot wider. And a little bigger. I'm just going to tap different areas here. He's got a hint of an eye bag, but not really. Same thing with right here. And the color from his cheeks are very subtle into this highlight. So I'm just kind of rounding it out here. And it's kind of like this shape right here. And then the rest of the tones seem to kind of diffuse into that as well. And I still need to define this side of his face. Alright. I think I want to build up this part of his nose so that it looks rounder. Let me grab a little bit of purple here. And drop the opacity just a smidge. Bring that brush down a bit. Like right here. Whoops. Too much. Needs to be softer. A little bit more subtle. It's like a purplish, bluish type color. It's about like right there. Not enough to look like a bruise. And it needs to kind of be a little grayish too. And very, very light. And I just made his eyes look considerably smaller. Let's smudge this a bit. Oops, I have to be in there. There are a lot of national anthems here. Let's see. Let me go back. Okay. Still doesn't look like him. Let's see. Maybe it's, let's see, if I work on the lips, let's see if we can get this to work for us. Okay. So we've already got a base tone of pink on here. His lips have this reddish pink color, and it's dark reddish pink. Right, let's see. That might work. We'll bring that down some. Okay, I'm gonna have to go in a bit. And I'll keep looking at it and seeing where I need to go from here. I'm going to do the teeth kind of like how I do the eyes. You know, have white and then some gray. Now his lips, the top of them diffuse to where it's hard to tell where it begins and where it ends. It just all of a sudden becomes lips. So I'm going to soften up the edges around his lips and then just add some tones. And again, my picture is really pixelated, so it's hard for me to kind of tell what's going on around the lips. Because it's pixelated with a lot of texture. Do this. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the other tone, and we'll see if we can bring a little bit of softness to his lips, a little bit more roundness, and we're going to keep building up. So our dark and light tones. I'm going to start with the darkest tone, which is this purplish pink color, and just do this jagged shape. His lips aren't perfectly smooth. They pucker, they're soft. And let's see. So just pretty much trying to follow where this color is. And then I'll make it a little brighter, a little lighter. And I'll put that, diffuse it a little bit more and put that on in there. And now I'm going to tap it in. Now it's not that smudgy. Let me back it up a bit. Very thin lines. Some of them close to each other, some of them, and they vary in size, so don't be afraid to jump around a bit. And then we can go a little redder. Bring it here and go a little bit redder for the bottom of his lip. Just a hair. We'll make that a little bigger. And we even toss a little bit in here. So I'm looking at this kind of like it's a shelf. Like right here is touching the teeth. Or it's like right in front of the teeth. And then it kind of comes out flat here. And that's another tone. And then the shelf goes downwards to the bottom of the lip. And then in here, it's kind of rounded, like C-shaped. And I'm making C-shapes around here to get that round feel on his lips. Okay, and then I'm going to put some really bright tones on his lips. I'm going to take the opacity back up. And I'm going to do C-shapes going down. And then when I get to the center, it's kind of straight, but then it goes back this way. And then I'm going to add a little bit of highlights, some white. I'm going to tap those in. It could be smaller. Let me back that up. We don't want it to look like a cold sore or anything like that. So just tap it. If you wanted to look super shiny, you definitely want to tap in a little bit more. If you want it to look, kind of subtle, I want to soften up some of this pink here. And then I'm going to tap in some of his flesh tone. Because it comes back to flesh. And it's like a jagged color. Now I'll just vary it a little bit, coming back around. And then I'll just kind of shape the lips using some of the flesh tone. And then that's where we get to have a little fun and then tease some of the color around. Just remember to come back around if you need to define it a little bit better. And just, I'm going to drop this down a little bit more and then tap some more in there. And just smudging. There we go. And then I'll add some shadows for the corners of the mouth, and the same color of the corners looks like the same color as I had in the eyelash area. It's about like right there. And this line is created by the lips coming together. Now I'll use a little bit around the inside. Just a little. And then also use a little bit of white around the edges. Get right up in there to give it that rim of reflective light off the teeth. And definitely make it kind of jagged as well. Let's see, where else is the light hitting? Light hits it pretty hard right here. And you just pick whatever spots that you want or go off of what your picture has. We'll throw some more flesh tone in to give us a little bit more jagged edge around the lips. Keep it subtle. And use a little bit of a darker tone around as well. Okay, my alarm is about to go off. So you guys, thank you so much for popping in, taking a peek. And if you like what you see, like, subscribe, and suggest.
On Sunday. In a Bloomberg Sports,
All right.
Yankees going
Take care,
to
you guys.
The Red Sox, the best win they acquired.
And I shall see you on the morrow. He's a little, he needs a little bit of work. Definitely does not look like the fellow, but he looks pretty. I like it. Okay. Let me back it up. I'm going to add more ear and get his face shape to match his shape. And color in those pants and stuff. I'll see you guys on the morrow, and hopefully I can give you some more tips that might help you along the way. All right, take care. Bye-bye.